Hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Coffee with Coaches podcast. I'm your host, Kevin, and today I have with me Shirrod Le'Det. Did I pronounce that right?
You did, yes, sir.
Okay, good. Shirrod specializes in leadership and combines his insights with an individual's natural talents and learned skills to create a purpose and mission statement, which they can then use as a filter for their decision-making. Using his thought leadership style, he acts as a change agent, moving teams and individuals from the status quo into a new way of thinking. Sounds powerful. I'd like to know more about it. Shirrod, thank you for being on the podcast
today. Yeah. No, I appreciate the invite. Yeah, I mean, there it is. Like, hey, hit and record. That's it. That's what I
do. Cut, print, clip it out, splash it all over socials.
There it is.
Let's get started at your start. Let's begin at your beginning. I find I've kind of stumbled my way into asking this as a two-part question because so many coaches' journeys are a journey of realization, of discovery, where they're more or less on a path already, and then they realize suddenly, or someone tells them and they hear it for the first time that, oh, I am a coach. So what's your superhero origin story when it comes to how you figured out that you were a coach, and then what got you into the coaching business after that?
Right. Yeah. The superhero origin story. I love that. Right. I'm gonna have to try to figure out like what my character is. Now, my man is Superman though, right? I love Superman. That's a whole nother conversation. But but how I got started was really, like you said, it's one of those just, aha moments, like that epiphany that just kind of happens. And you're right. I believe that coaches, usually it's one of those things that you didn't really realize what it is you did until someone points it out. And I've always just been the type of person that loved to help people, but I also knew there was more to me. I am a high C, so I'm gonna get a little bit into like what is called the disc, right? Right? I'm a high C, so I'm all about information, analytics, and systems and things like that. But until I actually took the assessment, went through a lot of different things, I really didn't know what that looked like and what that meant. I always kind of thought I was a little weird. Like, well, why am I always like so OCD or whatever the case may be? And again, as I kind of continued my education, going to get my master's degree, and I would say that was a very pivotal point for me. When I got my master's degree, I really got to study more into leadership. I was naturally a leader, as far as just being able to get into a room and take control. But once I started learning like the nuts and bolts and kind of like the ins and out and really what leadership was really all about, I just became obsessed with it, right? There's no better way to put it than I was obsessed with leadership and how I could become better. And then once I got my master's degree, and then continued to kind of just, work, I got the opportunity to start teaching. So I'm a professor at a small college in Louisville, and Simmons College of Louisville, so HBCU in Louisville. And number one, I never thought that was going to be in the cards. If you would have asked me, hey, do you think you're going to be a teacher, a professor at that? I would have said no. I don't see that, right? But it's funny because, I'm also a man of faith. I also believe in God. And when you ask him a question, please understand he will give you an answer. So I asked the question, like, what is it that you want me to do with this education in my life and everything? He said, teach. I said, what? He said, teach. So even though I was really scared, or I really didn't think I belonged in the classroom to start teaching, I taught. And then when I started teaching, that's when I really started to understand, again, that gift for teaching, my gift for learning, my gift for leadership, my gift for information. And that just opened so many doors for me, because the door that it opened for me was really personal development. So the number one, it started for me was education. And then I got into personal development. When I got the taste of personal development, because that's one thing that we hear about, but it's kind of like, well, how do you do that? How do you practice that?
Yeah.
Once I understood the practice, once I engaged it, again, obsessed, right? Obsessed with leadership, obsessed with personal development. And it allowed me to really understand what education was about. So as I'm teaching students, next thing I know, we're teaching on management, we're talking about personal finance, we're talking about professional development, we're talking about all these different things in my class. But it never failed. I got into a conversation about just you in general, because it's one thing to have the knowledge and the information, But if you don't apply it to yourself, then it's just that. It's just information, right? You know, information and knowledge is powerful, but if it's not applied, then it's just that. It's just information. And when we were going through all the class, and then I would talk to the students, and then we would get into these personal conversations, that's when I started to understand what coaching was. And then that's when I fell in love with coaching. And then that's when I identified, oh, I'm a coach, right? And then again, the platforms of this teaching, and then being a professor in a school in the business and entrepreneurship department. I'm an assistant professor, so I teach business all day. Then I turn around and I coach in business. So I'm a teacher and I'm a coach.
You're all the way in. I love it. I love it. I love the way in which you describe your journey, how we it reminds me how we just have words like that are placeholders for things. Like you think of yourself as weird or OCD, or we have these like that are words that are descriptive, but there's so much more there. And even something like personal development, like, okay, that means a lot of things. Like when you tell your partner, I love you, like, okay, yeah, that's a big word. There's a whole, that's a big tent. Right. There's a whole revival under that tent if you want it. And so I love that, like that journey of both coaching and being coached is essentially kind of digging in and understanding the language, acquiring more words that will allow you to kind of reveal and allow you to understand better who you are, how you want to affect change both inside yourself and in the world around you, which is really one and the same, and then how to move on that. And that's the one thing, that the one message that I love, and it has to be a part of every coaching journey, every coaching experience, is the book can't just stay on the shelf. Where's the book? I'm looking at my mirror. Like, it can't just stay there. I got the book on the shelf. That's not the end. Me getting the book isn't the end of the journey. It is the actual beginning of the journey. And until that book gets into my heart, into my hands, into my feet, it's just something on the shelf. And
I love that. And the reality of it is, Kevin, is that it's not just reading the book once, but reading it a couple of times. I can't tell you how many times I read a book and I'd be like, now I didn't get that the first time. Where was that at? Like, did I skip that page? Did I just not know what that word meant? Like, where did that come from? But I just find that, again, the more information that we get, and again, like you say, it's all about application. Once I apply it, once I allow it to actually become something, a part of me, then it becomes something totally new. Then it starts to blossom, right? It's planting the seed, but then you have to water the seed. You have to then do your due diligence to actually get that seed to actually become something more. And I love the fact that you talked about vocabulary, because here's a reality. Vocabulary is so important in our development because of literally, by us changing the word or knowing and understanding the word and changing it within a sentence, you literally change the context of that word, giving it a completely new meaning. Same thing happens to our lives and to coaching, right? Once I know and understand something, but then when I start thinking and using it differently, I come up with a whole new concept. I see something completely different, right? What I thought was the status quo was not the status quo. I can now think differently, right? And it's just like, I don't know if you can tell, like the excitement, like this is what I love doing, right? And then seeing that light come on, that aha moment, like, that's what I was looking for. Great. So
I love you get excited in a similar way that I get excited, and the listeners won't see this obviously, but like if they've been listening for a while, they know I talk about, I'm a hand talker, and I start to get excited, and my hands, they go from like down here at the desk, they start to rise up, and I'm doing this, I'm throwing this, and I'm pointing when the coach is talking, and you do the same thing, and I feel like we're just throwing our hands around, and it's exciting though. It's a full body excitement when you realize it. Like, I like that you're not afraid of the word obsessed, as like, basically, I mean, most people would use passion. I love the word passion. I like that. I like obsession though, because there's a focus implied. There's like my whole being, my whole awareness is engaged with this. And I like stronger vocabulary when it comes to the thing. Once we identify, I just love things that are more focused, strong, but don't detract from anything else. Like you can have passion and be obsessed. They're different things. I really like that you use the word obsessed there, because that appeals to my own capacity to just throw my whole brain and my whole heart into something when it starts to stir me up a little bit.
Yeah, and I love that, right? Because again, once you identify the word, it changes your whole energy and your drive, right? I have passion, and we understand passion, but when you're obsessed, that is like you said, that's like, I gotta have it. Like if I don't get it, then something's I gotta have it. So yeah, and that's just one of the things, just from self-awareness, right? The more self-aware you are, the more you're able to really know and understand and start honing more specifically into your purpose, into your passion, into your obsessions. And the disc, I mean, that is where all that came from. And there's various different kind of disc assessments out there, but one of the ones I use is through Eric Thomas, and it's the flight assessment. And I love it because it has there's a page in there that gives you some very good descriptives, right? Some very good words that describe the various different, the D, the I, the S, and C. And when you have those words, some of those words, like one would be like demanding, or one would be like complacent. And those words really aren't very positive words generally used. But when you know and understand them, they actually do have some positive components to it, right? So vocabulary, again, is very important.
And they're descriptive. They might have picked up a few bags of negativity along the way, but ultimately at their core, they're descriptive words, and they can allow you, like all words, to understand yourself and the world around you better. And that's the more, and I might be speaking more from my own heart here than anything else, the more I get out of my own way and stop adding stuff that maybe isn't there, and just let the discovery process run its course, the better off I'm going to be, or the sooner I'll get where I'm trying to go.
Amen. I think that's true for everybody. I know that's definitely true for me, right? And I definitely have to get out of my way like a couple of times a day, right? It's not just a one-time process, a couple of times a day. So yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about your coaching practice now. I can already tell this is going to run long, because I'm loving talking to you. But let's talk a little bit about your coaching practice today. So obviously you're a professor. You do one-to-one coaching. Clearly, as a professor, you do group coaching. But talk a little bit about the way that you go about your coaching business, both maybe in the classroom and just also in your, in the boardroom or wherever, or the office, or wherever it happens.
Right. Yeah. And it's pretty straightforward. I mean, one of the things about coaching is it's never really giving solution, or let me say that, giving answers. It's more so listening to what needs to be said. Right. So even in the classroom, one of the things I tell my students all the time, and even in one-on-one coaching, I always tell people that, again, just as much I look to help and serve and hopefully teach you something, I know you are going to do the same for me. So this is a reciprocal situation, right? This is a relationship of give and take, like, because the only way that I'm going to be able to really help you and coach you and guide you through anything is that I got to be able to relate. I got to be able to connect. And the best way to do that is to asking questions, right? So, in my coaching one-on-one, I definitely start with the DISC assessment. Everything starts with the individual, because it's all about behavior changes. It's all about, again, habits, that we've developed over time, habits that we want to change. It's all about mindset. And really, the DISC is a great starter point for me, and it's a foundation for me, because it allows me to, one, help to know and understand my client from that side, but it then helps me to get the client to see them in a completely different way. They're able to see their strengths. They're able to see their weaknesses. They're able to see the ways that they communicate, or even the way that they learn, right? The DISC provides so much good information and insight that, again, we think we know these things, but until we actually sit down with ourselves with some type of tool like DISC and be able to know and understand it and how to use it and how to help it to unveil some different things about ourselves, then we find ourselves stuck, right? Or we're procrastinating, or we're guessing at something, or we're avoiding something, and these are the things that happen, especially in a one-on-one session. And, I really use the DISC assessment, one, to start the conversation, to add value, but then also to guide the conversation, because based on what it is that they're trying to fix, solve, understand better, some way or another, we can be able to navigate it through that conversation, through the DISC, right? And it also helps even in my group coaching as well. Depending on the group, depending on the size, and depending on the need, I can implement this. Because when, in most groups, and let's say we're talking about an organization who has, a team, it's a great team building, right? If you know the personalities on your team and how they work together, how you can communicate with them, how they make decisions, how they interact with people, how the environment works for them, then you have an ability to now, you have a recipe for you to actually now identify everybody's position and role. One of the challenges that we know when it comes to businesses is making sure that we try to get people in the right place so we can maximize their strengths. It's all about maximization, right? It's all about results. I want to get results in my business. I want to get results personally. I want to get results professionally, but I need to understand how I can do that, not just for myself. Now let's get into leadership, but how do I do that for my team? One of the things that I always teach, especially when it comes to leadership and even coaching in leadership, that again, John Maxwell says that leadership is all about influence. And I completely agree. It's influence. But how do you influence? You influence various different ways. And there is no right way, but it's really understanding how you influence. But in our communication of influence, it's also the aspect of not just me communicating, but I got to make sure that I can communicate so the person on the other end can comprehend, right? So communication isn't just me giving you information. If I'm giving you information and you're kind of scratching your head, like, I don't even know what that means or what you're trying to tell me, like, what do I do with that, right? And I find that is really a lot of the things that happen within my coaching sessions, both individual and group coaching. And here's the other thing I can tell you, Kevin, is that there really is no straight line, and even if we have a conversation one day and, we come up with a game plan, the next time we meet, something else is going to happen. So the goal is to really to give you more tools in your toolbox. So then you know how to use the tool. Understanding that, again, I can use a hammer to hit in a nail, but I can also use a hammer to take out a nail. I can also use a hammer to actually put a hole in the wall, right? I can use a hammer to take that. So again, once you identify what the tool is and how you can use it, then you get the flexibility and the empowerment to use the tool to the best of your ability to maximize the results that you're looking for.
I have like 17 follow-ups, but that's just an excuse for me to keep talking to you. I'm loving this. I love where you're coming from. I love the way I love the language you speak, quite frankly. And like and that's what it comes down to. I love that you point out, like, it's if you're essentially speaking nonsense to someone, like if I start spouting French, I don't speak French, but if I start spouting French if I start spouting some language you don't know, you might be able to tell that I'm excited, like my face is happy, I'm moving around, I'm gesturing. So you can kind of pick up a little bit of what I'm saying, but you have no idea what the words I'm saying mean. And so there's only so much you could do. So you get people on the same page, speaking the same language, and you get the passion and the obsession going. There's really no end to where you can go, or what you could do.
Absolutely.
And that's gets me excited more than a cup of coffee every morning.
Hey, and I like coffee too. I'm a coffee person.
I should ask you before, because we're already like 20 minutes in. I know I tried to promise 15, but I threw that promise out the window. But where can people find out more about you, but also connect with you? I like to ask it that way, because some people have a preferred social media where it's like, if you want to come meet me and let's chat, meet me here. If you want to just learn more about me, check this out. So like, where can people find you and meet you?
Yeah. So, I mean, to find me, you can find me on social media. You can find me on LinkedIn, right? My name, Shirrod Le'Det. You can also find me on Facebook at, Shirrod Le'Det. And as far as if you really want to connect with me, definitely LinkedIn is my preferred and kind of my go-to when it comes to like social media and just connecting with people. I just find that's always just kind of been my social media platform. Just to embarrass myself, I just recently got on Facebook, right? So I'm still navigating that.
That's not embarrassing.
But yeah, LinkedIn. And then as far as being able to really connect with me, if you really are interested after, get to take a look at my profile, see, and you want to have a conversation, then just go to my website, www.shirrodledet.com. You'll get more information about me, about my public speaking, about my coaching. And then you can set up a time, to connect. And one of the things I always try to tell people is that, there's so much in coaching, but the biggest thing that I try to connect with people and just have that initial conversation is just to make sure it's a good match. My goal, I promise you, Lord is my witness, I just want to help and serve people. But if I'm not the good match for you, then I don't want to do that, because I'm wasting your time and then I'm wasting my time, right? And we know time is valuable, right? Time is everything. So yeah, I always tell people, connect with me on social media, but then you can also connect with me on LinkedIn and Facebook, but then through my website as well. You can also find me at the growth coach of Greater Lexington. So that's kind of a new aspect of my coaching that I've kind of brought into. And I started that at the top of this year. And it's allowing me to really put some more fundamentals around the business aspect. So when I coach, I really focus on personal development, professional development, leadership development, and then business, right? Those are kind of my areas of focus. But the one thing about it is, Kevin, they're all intertwined, right?
Yeah.
Because here's the equation. The equation is this. It doesn't matter if you're personal, professional, leadership, business, the one major variable that's consistent in all of that is you, right? So when it comes to coaching, it's all about making sure that you are your best so you can then turn around and give your best, getting from your now to your next.
Ooh, man. Again, I have so many more things to say, but I feel like that's the perfect statement to end it on. Shirrod, thank you so much for being here and quite frankly making my day. It's only 9:24 here in Portland, Oregon, but my day is already made. So thank you.
Good. Sounds like you have a great day, then.
I have a great day ahead. I could tell already.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So thank you for being here, audience. Thank you for listening. I reach out to Shirrod, find him, connect with him. This is fantastic. Learn more, have a conversation. I can tell you from firsthand experience, you're going to have a good time with it. And yeah, we'll see you again soon.
All right. Thank you for having me, Kevin.